Hello, Parker Hill. So glad to have you with us, whether you're joining us online or at one of our 3 campuses for this series, Half-Truths. My name is Dan. I'm one of the pastors here at Parker Hill. And throughout this series, we've been exploring some of those common phrases that we hear all the time. Phrases like this: we have no right to judge, or God will never give you more than you can handle, or let your conscience be your guide, or God is all you need. They sound so right, but are they? And if they're only half true, but we trust them completely, then we're going to be in trouble. Now, the one we're covering this week is God is all you need, but before we do that, I want to ask you a question, and it's this. Have you noticed how hard life is? You know, we all have dreams and desires, things that we want to achieve in life, but it's hard. It's not easy to achieve those things. I know you have dreams and desires of your own. You want to lose weight or launch a business. You want to get better at relationships or be more engaged with your kids. You want to excel at work, or you want to slow down and enjoy life. And these are good desires and goals. They are, but life is hard, and so we tend to drift in the opposite direction that we intended to go. And I have goals too. I want to lose weight, and so I have this goal of getting out at least 3 times a week and running. This is a good goal. This is a great goal for my life. In fact, I want to be healthy for my kids and active as they grow up. I want to be fit, and so that I can enjoy and take care of my wife. This is a good and great goal, and you have them too, good and great goals. I also know what it's like to face how hard life can be. In fact, recently, my wife went out of town for a few days, and she left me with the kids. They're 5, 3, and 1, and so she left some meal plans and some instructions for me, but she also left Chex Mix. And I have a soft spot for Chex Mix. And so now I have a dilemma, because I have a goal that I want to be fit, but I also want to eat a whole bag of Chex Mix. And I could do it too. And so while she's gone, I open up the bag and I just eat a little bit of it. And so I'm able to keep my goal, and I'm like, yes, good job, Dan, good job. And the kids make a mess, and I clean up after them, and I just want to, sit down and relax on the couch for a moment, kind of reward myself. And so I pour a little bit into a bowl, and I reward myself, just a little bit. I'm keeping my goal. Good job, Dan, good job. Then, well, the kids make a lot of messes. You know that if you've had kids, and I clean up a lot after them, and so I'm rewarding myself more and more often until slowly I'm drifting all the way over here, and the Chex Mix is disappearing out of the bag. And while I'm stuffing my face, one of my kids comes up to me and, like Oliver Twist, says to me, "Daddy, can I have some too?" And I'm like, "No, son, go eat your carrots." And if that wasn't bad enough, I ate the whole bag. And while I'm thinking about and contemplating with a full stomach how that could have happened, I realized something. I never would have devoured that whole bag if someone else was there. There are things that you do that you wouldn't normally do, and you do them because you're alone. We tend to drift. We drift into complacency in our marriage. We drift into being a victim of our circumstances. We drift into dreaming but never doing. We drift into consuming but never producing. We drift into bad sleep habits and bad study habits. We drift into partying on the weekends. We drift into pornography, and you would never do those things if someone else was there. I would never have devoured this whole bag of Chex Mix if someone else was there. Now, here's the thing. Don't miss this, okay? It would not have been this great feat of self-discipline to resist if someone else was there. I just wouldn't do it. It wouldn't be this supreme act of the will if someone else was there. I just wouldn't do it. Why? Because there's this thing that happens when there's the presence of someone who shares your goals. Guess what it does? It stops your drift. It's the power of walking through life together. If I could summarize it in one sentence, I'm just trying to say this, that you can walk together or you can fall apart. You can walk together in life with others or you can fall apart. Well, why is that? Why is it that these relationships make such a big difference in our lives? And we're going to find our answer to that question in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 8 through 12. Now, the Bible is made up of a whole bunch of documents put together into one collection. If you want to learn more about that, you can check out our last series called The Bible. And in that series, we learned that the Bible is not one book, it's a library of books that tells one big story. And Ecclesiastes is one of those books. You can get there in your Bible or your Bible app. Ecclesiastes is part of what scholars call wisdom literature. And wisdom literature is primarily concerned with answering some of those day-to-day questions that we're all asking. Questions like, what kind of world are we living in? And how do we live a good life? And what does it mean to live a good life? The kind of stuff we wonder about too. I mean, who wouldn't want to know how to live a good life? But the thing that you have to appreciate most about wisdom literature is that it is gut-wrenching honest. It's true to life. In fact, it looks at the circumstances of life and it's honest with you. It says it's hard. It looks at the circumstances that we face and says that's challenging. And it's very practical in the insights that it gives to help us overcome in those areas. And so, for those who are willing to listen, it offers great wisdom. So let's jump in and see if we can gain some insights for our own lives into the drift. Verse 8 starts like this. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother, and there was no end to his toil. Yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business. See, a man's whole life is summarized in one verse. He's successful, and he is rich, but he's not happy, which to us is a paradox because we expect people who are successful in life to be happy, but he's not. And why? Because he is alone. And he's worked for a long time, and he's worked his finger to the bone, and he's amassed great wealth, but it's just hitting him that life is at its best when it's shared with someone. He's just now realizing that without people, there is no point to turning a profit. The author of Ecclesiastes reflects on this man's life, at the success but loneliness, and concludes that life is better connected. And so the author is going to give us 4 reasons in 4 verses why life is better connected. The first one in verse 9. It says, 2 are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. 2 are better than one. So the first benefit of having a life that's connected is together you go further faster. Your work is multiplied. You've heard that many hands make light work. Well, this is not just true on the job, but it's also true in the rest of your life. See, together your efforts are multiplied together. You have more solutions to a problem. You have more experience to draw from. You have more skills to lean on for the solution. See, together you go further faster. I see this all the time in my community group. We have people that I call our group gurus. They're those people that you go to when you have a specific question about a specific area. And so if you want to purchase a car, there's someone that you go to, they're real sharp, and they're going to help you figure that out. If you want to figure out some parenting things, we pool our information and we learn from one another. See, together we go further faster. See, life is better connected because you get more done more quickly. The next benefit is in verse 10. It says, if either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. See, we all stumble and fall. We all need help at times getting back on our feet. And sometimes we fall in all kinds of areas of life, like emotionally and financially and spiritually or even physically, and we need help. Now, notice that if you fall down and no one else is around, then who knows how long you'll be stuck in that ditch. But if someone else is around, they help you up in seconds. You're back up on your feet. And sometimes I drift in life and I eat a whole bag of Chex Mix, or I make other more serious mistakes. And I could wallow in my disappointment and in my embarrassment, or I can call a friend. And when I call that friend, I can be good again in seconds just by talking to them and being real with them and be encouraged by them. But if I don't call anyone, then I could be in a funk for days or weeks or months. You see, with people in your life, you can bounce back quicker. You have the help you need when things are hard. Life is better connected because you have someone there to help you in difficult times. The third benefit is found in verse 11. It says, also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm all alone? Now, the third benefit is comfort in time of need. Comfort in time of need. See, the author's painting this picture of all these benefits of having people in your life. He's been poetic throughout the whole thing. And so the idea or the concept that he's putting forward here is one of comfort. Here's someone who is cold who needs to be warmed. And for anyone who's gone through times of mourning, you get this immediately. It's the special support and comfort you get from somebody just being there with you. It's the reason that we sit by people's hospital beds, even when they're asleep. There's a power to our presence. Christian trauma expert Dr. Jamie Atten notes this: when our friends and loved ones are impacted by violence and mass trauma, it can leave us feeling helpless. And that could make us freeze up or say things we wouldn't normally say, like cliches, like God will never give you more than you can handle. But Dr. Atten concludes this, that the best thing we can do is summed up in two words: to offer refuge, to give comfort in times of need. Have you ever had somebody say to you, after they went through a valley experience in life, I couldn't have done it without you? That's what we're talking about here. Comfort in times of need. And we all at times will go through our own dark valleys, and so we will need people in our lives that will walk with us, will be there with us, and offer to us the comfort we need to keep walking. The fourth and final benefit is found in verse 12. It says this: though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of three strands is not quickly broken. As one pastor put it, we live in a world where evil people want to harm us and foolish people want to use us. The fourth benefit is protection in time of danger. The analogy here is one of assault, of attack. The author's point is that it's better in a fight to have two people than one. It's even better to have three. It's better to have a group than to fight alone. And we face battles in life. We face physical ones, sure, but also spiritual and emotional and financial and vocational. And we need each other in these battles. A great illustration of this is how the Romans used to fight. You see, in ancient times, Roman legionnaires carried these really large shields, almost as big as they were. And the front row would interlock these shields and walk together, while the back row would lift up their shields over top of them. And when they were in this formation called the tortoise formation, they were almost invincible. Projectiles couldn't break through and enemies couldn't get at them. And so they would move forward together, step by step, to defeat their foes. It is because of this cooperative combat that they were able to take over much of the known world at the time. So together, they were unstoppable. But if you got outside of the tortoise formation, you were easy to pick off. See, when we're not connected to other people in our lives, we're easy to pick off. We're more susceptible to the attacks and the temptations around us. So surround yourself with people who can help you win life's battles. Life's better connected because you have someone watching out for you who will fight for you if necessary. Now look at this list all together. Imagine that in your life you had people helping you to move forward in life in leaps and bounds because you're doing it together and your effort is multiplied. Imagine you have people helping you bounce back when you fall down, people there to help you through the dark seasons and the difficult times when you don't know if you could put one foot in front of the other, but their strength lends you strength and you're able to keep going. Imagine that you have protection in times of danger. You have people watching out for you. I wouldn't do that, or watch out, or let me come with you, or let me help you handle that. Imagine all of that in your life. I mean, life would be so much better connected. But imagine if you didn't have any of those things in your life. Imagine everything that you got to figure out, you got to figure it out on your own. Imagine anytime you fall down, you got to get yourself back up one more time. And who knows how long that will take you? Days, weeks, months, years? Never. How about those dark times? You've got to try to handle that all alone. Or about when you need some help to overcome in the battles of life? Hey, you're fighting alone, buddy. You're fighting alone. See, what the author is trying to get us to realize is that life is better connected. You see, you can walk together or you can fall apart. Now think about the statement. All you need is God. I mean, it sounds so spiritual, doesn't it? I mean, we do need God. We need God every day, don't we? We need Him for wisdom and encouragement and for power and for joy and for life itself. I mean, yeah, we totally need God. All you need is God sounds so spiritual. It's just not biblical. See, when you start looking in the Bible, you discover some things. You discover that God doesn't do it that way. He doesn't do it alone. God is Trinity, right? There's 3 in 1. Don't ask me to explain all of that, all right? But here's what we do know, that the Father, Son, and Spirit have always existed in joyful unity and perfection together in community. See, God doesn't do it alone. The next thing we learn is that we were made in the image of God. We were designed for relationships. What's interesting is that when God made the whole world and everything in it, and it was God and it was Adam and everything was good, God said, actually, there's something missing. In Genesis 2:18, it says, the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. So even with Adam having God, he still was missing something because God made us for relationships. You read a little bit further in the Bible and you discover that Jesus himself modeled community. I mean, he gathered a crowd, sure, but he lived in community, in close community with a smaller group of guys. He lived in community. And he even asked for help when he went through his own dark valley. You remember when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and this was his darkest time. He asked his friends to pray for him. He leaned on them for help. And if God can do that, can't we? Another thing you notice is that God commanded us to love one another. So over 50 times in the New Testament, we're given one another commands about how to treat each other. There are things like love one another and forgive one another, bear one another's burdens and build each other up. And we're called to be involved in one another's lives. We're called to let people in, and we're called to dive in to other people's lives. That cannot happen on a Sunday morning. We have to move out of rows and into circles, and that's why we have groups here at Parker Hill. Now, you can walk together or you can fall apart. What I'm trying to get at is that the relationships in your life really matter. A 75-year-long study conducted at Harvard was focused on the question of happiness, what really makes us happy. And they studied multiple groups, and they studied them for as long as they possibly could, from youth all the way through death. This study is the longest done on human happiness, and it's had multiple directors just to keep up with all the decades that they've been amassing information on the question of what really makes us happy. And what they found about what makes us happy is not about wealth or about fame or about success. After decades of study and thousands of pages of data, the study's current director concludes this: the clearest message that we get from this 75-year study is this: good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period. Good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period. Now here's the deal. I know that we all have relationships, sure. The question I'm asking is, what kind? Are they the good kind? The kind that helps you get where you're trying to go, or the ones that help you drift? See, it's not just the quantity of relationships in your life. You need to ask about the quality of relationships in your life. Now, I recently went to a conference, and there was a speaker there. His name was Dr. Henry Cloud, and he led us through this diagram to help us evaluate the relationships in our own life. And I'd like to do that with you now. I'd like you to think about your own relationships. Now, all of us are looking for relationships. We're looking for connection. And so the way that he put it is that the places we go for connection are like four corners of a rectangle. Think of these like bus stops. You get on the bus and you get off at one of these stops because you hope it's the destination that you're looking for, the destination of connection. And so in our relationships, we make stops all around this rectangle. And the first corner is what we call no relationships. This is the first stop. This is where you're alone and you don't have connection with people and you feel it and you want it. And so you get on the bus and you move over to the next corner, corner number 2. And this is what we call bad connection. Bad connection. Here you're together with other people, but you're not really connected. Your mask has to stay on. It's not that the people that you're hanging out with here are bad. It's just that the connection between you is bad. You leave feeling inferior. You leave feeling like a failure. It's just not a good connection. And so you feel bad. And so we gravitate here because we think, well, some connection's better than no connection. At least I hope so. Get on the bus again, and we're searching for real connection, and we end up in number 3, corner number 3, what we call fake connection. Fake connection happens because you are so sick and tired of feeling lonely and bad that you want to feel good. No matter what it costs, you want to find something that will make you feel good, and so you do, at least for a little while. You're seeking connection, but what you end up with is a distraction. And you distract yourself with food or with entertainment or pleasure or whatever, but that doesn't work. And so the thing about these first 3 corners is that they're not linear. You could bounce around all over the place. Some of your relationships could be in different corners. You can feel lonely, and so you don't like that, and so you want something that feels good, and so you jump down here, and then that was terrible, and so you try to rebound with people, but those are bad connections, and so you say, forget people, and I'm going back to being alone, but I'm lonely, so I want connection, and I go back to bad connections, and I don't like this anymore, I want to feel good, and so we end up in these cycles looking for something more, for real connection. See, that's corner number 4, real connection. That's where you can be known and really known. This is the place where you get to take the mask off. And instead of being rejected, you are accepted. This is where people really get to know you and they love you. This is the place where you're home. And this is what you've always been searching for. That's the reason you got on the bus in the first place. That's what you wanted when 1 wasn't good and 2 wasn't good and 3 wasn't good. It's real connection. And get this, real connection is what God offers us with Him. And real connection is what God offers us with other Christians. So think about the relationships in your life. What corner are you in? In your search for real connection, where do you find yourself most often? Where are those relationships? Do you have a place where you can be real and be really helped? Are these friends that you have the kind that help you go towards your goals and getting out and running, or the kind that help you drift toward where you don't want to be? You see, our relationships matter. You can walk together or you can fall apart. And so what I want to do together now is I want to talk to 3 different groups of people here today. And the first group that I want to talk to are those of you who are not in a group, and I want to help you walk in the right direction. And I want to encourage you to join a group. You see, each week we have hundreds of people meeting in homes throughout our community and walking through life together. They're experiencing all of those benefits of why life is better connected. They're walking together, so they're not falling apart. This is the corner 4 experience where they can be real. And yes, it takes time to build, but this is that safe place to take off the mask and to be accepted. We call these community groups. And I can't promise you that you'll find your best friend in this group. I can't do that. But here's what I do know. I know that hundreds of leaders are preparing each week to welcome people into their homes to create a space, an environment where you can have real connection if you want to try. And each week, these leaders prepare and they pray and they set up and they welcome you in and they create this space just for you to find out why life is better connected. Now, many of them are here today. They're wearing a shirt that says life is better connected. And I believe that what they're doing is so important and so critical that we just need to show some appreciation for all that they do to help us live lives that are connected. Let's thank them for that. They are my heroes, and they're there to help you. So if you're here today and you're not yet in a group, let me encourage you to try a group. And our groups meet for a trimester at a time, so what we're really talking about here is a 10-week test run. Just try it out. And if that's you and you want to get connected, the best way to do that is to go to GroupLink. And so if you want to join a group, you need to grab this card that was on your seat when you came in today. Grab a pen from nearby and fill out the front part, just some basic information so we can be in contact with you. And then flip it over, and in the middle there, mark off GroupLink. That's the event where other people who are looking for a group will get together and will help you find a group. We provide a light meal there for you. We explain about groups, and then we plug you in to a group. The next one happening on Sunday, September 11th from 1 to 2:30 in the afternoon. And so by marking the GroupLink box on that card, you're saying, I want to be there. Sign me up, register me for GroupLink. You also notice if you're on the back side of the card already that there's two other options available to you. The first that I want to highlight is Starting Point. And Starting Point is a group that meets at our campuses during the 11:15 service just for 8 weeks. And it's a group all about providing a place for you to have a conversation about faith. And so if you're a seeker and you have questions, or you've just started out in your faith and you have questions, or you're returning after being away for a while, this is the group for you. And if you're ready to jump in, this starts next month. You can mark Starting Point, and that will sign you up for this short-term group. The last group I want to highlight is our women's group. And if you're looking for a phenomenal place to connect with other women and grow in your relationship with God, then you want to check out our women's group that meets on Tuesday nights at our Dixon City campus. And by checking that box, you'll be registering for this group. And so go ahead, grab that card, be filling it out, information on the front, and then mark off which group option you would like to try out for our next trimester. Now, the next group I'd like to talk to are those who, were in a group but are not in one now. And I want to encourage you to re-engage with groups. See, I know what it's like. Maybe you took a break and you've been away for a little while and you're starting to drift, and maybe imperceptibly you haven't even noticed it yet, but you're drifting. And you need people in your life again, but you meant to get back, but you haven't, and you put it off, and then, wow, it's been a year, and what's happened, and where have I been? You took a break. I want to encourage you to re-engage with groups. You see, we're going to walk together. We're going to fall apart. And so if that's you, let me encourage you to grab the same card and mark it if you need to jump in on one of those group options as well. Some of you here, though, you had a bad experience in groups, and I'm sorry for that, but it happens. And the thing about that is that doesn't mean you should stop. I mean, did you stop eating after having a bad meal? No. You changed things up a little bit, and you still enjoy eating to this day. I'm sure of it. Right? So if you've had a bad experience, let me encourage you to re-engage with groups and jump into a new one. Or maybe you feel like groups are behind you, like it's something you did before, but maybe not now in the season of life that you're in. Maybe you've been around church for a while and you're saying, I've been there, done that. I was all in at one point. Let's leave that to the younger generations now. Can I say something to you? To those of you who are further along in life than I am, my generation is bombarded every day with options of paths to take. And my generation is struggling to figure out the right way to go. And if you've already walked down that road a little bit, you have so much wisdom to give us to help us on our journey. See, everyone needs someone, and someone needs you. And so here, if you're older and you were involved, I want to encourage you to get involved again. I want to encourage you to get off the bench and get back into the action. We need you in our groups. We need you in our faces. We need you in our lives. Everyone needs someone, and someone needs you. So please, re-engage in groups for the next generation. Maybe you need to re-engage, and if that's you, go ahead and take that same card and basic info, flip it over, and pick one of the options for where you'd like to be involved. The last group of people I'd like to talk to today are those who are already in a group. And I'm so glad that you value life being better connected and that you've made the commitment to getting together. And what I want to do for you is encourage you to lean in to your group this trimester. Lean in. I want to encourage you to take advantage of the opportunities that you have for that time that you meet each week. Don't take it for granted. It's amazing how being with other people in your life just stops the drift, how it affects you, and you don't even realize how much it does until they're gone, until that relationship isn't happening anymore. And so I want to encourage you to take full advantage of the group that you're in. Lean in. There's two ways I want to encourage you to do that, and the first is to pray on the way. To pray on the way. As you're headed to group each week, I want to encourage you when you get in the car, whether it's you and just you and God, or it's you and a spouse, or you and a boyfriend or girlfriend, or you and some kids, whatever it is, pray on the way. Pray for your group. One way to just lean in to get the most out of it is to lift up your group members in prayer, loving them through prayer, putting them first through prayer. You'll be amazed to see what happens in your group as you pray for them. And the second way I encourage you to lean in is just take on some of the serving responsibilities in your group. Step up and take some aspect of group life and say, I'll take that. I'll do that. So whether it's planning an activity or a prayer time, or it's planning the child care or the meal or snack, whether it's planning something, some opportunity to serve outside of your group, whatever it is, let me encourage you to lean in by stepping up and saying to your leader, I'll do that for this trimester, or I'll do that for a couple weeks, or can I take that off your plate? So lean in by praying as you go and by stepping up and taking some of the responsibility in your group. And so go ahead, take those cards and finish filling them out, marking where you are going to get plugged in. And the ushers will come in a moment for our time of giving. And as you finish filling out that card, you'll be able to drop it in the bucket as they are passed. I just want to leave you with a final encouragement from 2 Timothy 2:22, which says this: flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace. That means chase God's best for your life, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Do it together. Run together. Walk together, or you will fall apart. See, don't underestimate the power of running and going and living life with a group. Don't underestimate it, because it changes everything.